Confucius, the philosopher who shaped a billion lives. Confucius was nearly 60 years old. His robes had faded from years of travel, and the small group of students behind him carried little more than books, hope, and hunger. Kings had listened to him, then dismissed him. Powerful rulers had praised his wisdom, then returned to war. The man who dreamed of restoring peace to China now wandered from one state to another, without a home. It seemed that history had passed him by. Yet the greatest victory of his life had never depended on a throne. How could a teacher who failed to change his own age eventually shape the thinking of more than 1 billion people? Most people remembered Confucius as a quiet old philosopher who spoke about respect, family, and good manners. His name often became a symbol of tradition rather than change. But that picture remained incomplete. Confucius was not simply a collector of wise sayings. He was a political thinker who lived during one of China's darkest periods. Many of the sayings later linked to him were gathered by his students after his death, and some popular stories about his life were far more legend than fact. Even more surprising, he never wrote the famous book most people believed he had written. This story revealed why failure became his greatest success, how an ordinary teacher built one of history's longest-lasting intellectual traditions, and why his greatest achievement happened only after he was gone. The answer rested on one remarkable question: what kind of power survived when armies, kings, and kingdoms disappeared? Confucius entered a world divided by fear. During the late spring and autumn period, the authority of the Zhou kings had weakened, while ambitious rulers fought constantly for land and influence. Old customs collapsed. Trust became rare. Even noble families turned against one another. For ordinary people, life depended upon forces beyond their control. Harvests could fail. Armies could arrive without warning. A change of ruler often meant new taxes, new laws, and fresh suffering. Yet this troubled age also created an unexpected opportunity. As old traditions broke apart, people searched desperately for new answers. Competing schools of thought appeared across China, each claiming to possess the path toward order. Into this uncertain world came Confucius, born in 551 BC in the small state of Lu. His family belonged to the lower ranks of the nobility, but lived in modest conditions after his father's early death. He worked ordinary government jobs before becoming a teacher. Ironically, the weakness of his position became his greatest strength. Unlike many scholars, he opened education to talented students regardless of great wealth or noble birth. One quiet classroom sometimes changed history more deeply than a battlefield. His first great test came when he chose teaching over comfort. Instead of serving only powerful families, he gathered students from different backgrounds. He believed character mattered more than birth. As he later declared, "In education, there should be no class distinction." But another obstacle stood before him. He believed rulers should govern through virtue, rather than fear, while many leaders trusted only force. His ideas sounded noble, yet they appeared hopeless in an age of endless conflict. Could kindness truly survive where swords ruled? When Confucius briefly became a government official in Lu, he attempted to put his beliefs into practice. Order improved, and crime reportedly declined. However, political rivals feared his growing influence. He left office and began 13 difficult years of travel, hoping another ruler would embrace his vision. Again and again, disappointment followed. At one point, he and his followers even faced starvation during their journeys. Still, he refused to abandon his principles. His greatest achievement did not come through conquest. It came through conversation. Confucius collected ancient traditions, discussed history, questioned his students, and refined ideas that placed moral responsibility above personal ambition. Contrary to another common belief, he probably did not write all of the 5 classics himself. Instead, he preserved, edited, and taught earlier works while inspiring later generations to record his own conversations in what became the Analects. That quiet labor reached far beyond his own lifetime. The cost, however, remained deeply personal. He never witnessed the peaceful society he imagined. Many rulers ignored him. Others admired him, but lacked the courage to change. His political dream failed during his lifetime. The turning point came not through victory, but through acceptance. Returning to Lu in his final years, he devoted himself almost entirely to teaching and scholarship. He understood that ideas often moved more slowly than armies, yet they traveled much farther. In 479 BC, Confucius died without seeing his vision fulfilled. Tradition recorded that he mourned the loss of moral order until his final days. His disciples buried him near the city of Khufu and continued preserving his teachings. Only then did history begin its quiet reversal. The wandering teacher whom kings had overlooked became the teacher of generations. His students taught others. Those students taught more. Over centuries, rulers increasingly adopted Confucian learning as the foundation of government service. Education, ethical leadership, respect for learning, and devotion to family became lasting pillars of Chinese civilization. History also judged him too simply. He was neither merely a conservative defender of old customs, nor a perfect sage without doubt. He was a reformer who believed the future could be repaired by recovering humanity, justice, and disciplined character. His greatest weapon had never been authority. It had been example. Without Confucius, the moral language of East Asia would have developed along a very different path. His influence reached schools, governments, literature, family life, and philosophy across many centuries. Few individuals had shaped civilization so profoundly without commanding an army or ruling an empire. Perhaps that explained the mystery from the beginning. The old man walking through the dust had looked defeated, yet history had quietly followed behind him. One question remained. Had Confucius truly failed because rulers ignored him, or had he succeeded because he chose to teach instead of rule? If this journey through ancient history revealed that the strongest empires could be built with ideas rather than armies, then the next story would uncover another life that changed civilization in an equally unexpected way.